Bruiserweight action coming at you. Today we have Frank the Tank playing as Barack Obama versus Scotty, aka Legal Eagle, playing as Michelle Obama. These candidates agreed on A tier, and without knowing who each other is going to be, we have a battle against the Obamas here as Michelle goes into Old South, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia. We got them both going into women's movement. Frank the Tank also getting youth vote and has the advantage in women's movement to start. Again, Frank the Tank playing as Barack Obama, Scotty Legal Eagle playing as Michelle Obama. Let's take a quick look at where these two are in our Bruiserweight rankings. We have Scotty Legal Eagle. He is ranked number 12th right now, 1-6. This competitive league was his return to competitive play. He's learning the game again, getting the hang of it again. He's got one win on the season, looking to get win number 2. And Frank the Tank is ranked 9 here, 4 wins, 6 losses, coming off a big win against Brandon, aka Babe Lincoln, getting that submission win, hoping to keep the momentum here, playing his last game of the season, looking to finish strong. Hoping for a good matchup in this one. Two players looking to prove themselves as we have a swipe in women's movement. Legal Eagle spending big there to get 1 pip advantage and to get that women's movement bonus, 46.9K. Meanwhile, Frank the Tank picks up the 37.5K youth vote bonus. We will see if we get more competition there with that women's movement national group. The only states entered in so far are by Legal Eagle. He entered into 3 swing Old South AA states there with Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia. If Frank the Tank can pick up the win, he will finish his first season of the 270 competitive league with a very respectable 5-6 record with at least 1 submission. If he got a submission here, he'd have 2. Bruiserweight is one of the most tightly competitive divisions where it seems like anyone can win any game on any given day. So being around that 500 record is not a bad place to be. Even if he's 1 game under 500, he will be in a good position to hopefully build some momentum for next season and climb up the rankings. Scotty, aka Legal Eagle, playing as Michelle Obama. Only 1 win on the season so far, but he still has a handful of games left to make a push. And like I said, he is reacquainting himself with the game. And so we could see his abilities improve as he finishes up this season and heads into season 2. Players taking a little bit longer here on turn 3, trying to decide, do they fight over that national group? Do they make a move into the state groups? 2 Democrat candidates here. After this turn, we will go over what their bonuses are. We could see New York being entered a little earlier than most matches. And probably see a battle over AA here. I think AA is the largest bonus I know for Barack Obama. I'm less familiar with Michelle Obama. As the timer hits all zeros, what do we have here? Florida entered into by Legal Eagle as we have a swipe in women's movement. Legal Eagle decides not to protect that women's movement, and Frank the Tank takes it now with over 80K in national group bonus. As Legal Eagle gets set up in Florida and pips into Louisiana to get Old South. Let's look at their bonuses here. Like I said, AA is the largest state group bonus there for Obama, for Frank the Tank. So going to be an important bonus to get there. 25% labor, or 25% women's movement and 50% youth vote. That's why he went for those national groups there. Negative 30% in Old South, but Old South is still important, even though, yes, negative 20% Old South here for Michelle Obama. That will be an important stepping stone to get that AA bonus, as she also has 50% in AA bonus, 25% in women's movement. We'll see if there's a move to take that back, or if Scotty instead just takes his advantage that he has now with the lead in states being entered, maybe get that Old South bonus and look to get swing next. He would have to spend quite a bit and hope there's not a block by Frank the Tank in that women's movement. Let's see how it's played. Arizona entered here by Frank, as well as DC. Massachusetts entered by Legal Eagle. As New York is entered by both, we have a 300K clash going back. Pressure there in Virginia. So instead of trying to pick up that Old South bonus or spread into swing some more, you see Legal Eagle going into New York, trying to gain control of New York and Florida. He is now, however, closer, in a better position to get swing state, but he's going to need more money. He could get Old South here, but now you see Frank the Tanks in Virginia could block Old South there. If I'm Legal Eagle, I might direct my attention to Florida and those other states. We got pressure in Florida, pressure in North Carolina. Women's movement swiped back by 1 pip. A fun national group battle here early on as that 46.9 goes back to Legal Eagle. A big move there. Now it's up to Frank the Tank. Does he try to take that back, as he has a slightly over 100K advantage in cash? How much does Legal Eagle spend to defend it? We will see. Big time pressure added there as well in North Carolina and Florida by Frank the Tank. No state group bonuses picked up yet. Instead, a back and forth women's movement national group battle. A huge 300K clash in New York. So New York sits empty, but has been entered by both competitors. Florida as well, 1 pip from each competitor. This may be the first time these two competitors have ever played against each other. And so they're definitely getting a feel for how each other plays in this early back and forth where no one has taken that lead in state groups. Those national groups have gone back and forth. Let's see how turn 6 is played. Pressure in Arizona from Legal Eagle. New Hampshire to the 3rd. Women's movement. Attempted swipe is blocked. Brought to the 10th and blocked by Legal Eagle. Big time block. He spends 150 to block 225. women's movement stays. And all that attention in women's movement, again, delays any state groups from happening. As Legal Eagle closes the gap a little bit in cash difference, that women's movement helping him climb back into that race, only down 50K from Frank the Tank. Do we see another clash in women's movement here? Or does one of these competitors here on turn 7 go for our first state group? The season 1 deadline coming to an end soon. This matchup being recorded March 8th. And the deadline is March 17th, so we're getting near the end of Season 1 with our first championship event, Inauguration Day, which will be held in April, early to mid-April, as the top two ranked competitors from each division, the Cruiserweights, the Bruiserweights, and the Heavyweights, will compete for the inaugural championship from each of their divisions. Under 1 minute here left in turn 7. What will we see in women's movement? Will Frank the Tank go for the swipe again, or will we just see Legal Eagle lock that national group down? I believe Frank the Tank has enough to get Town and Gown on this turn. If he spends $450 in New York and gets Arizona and DC to the 3rd. With New Hampshire, I think he'll have enough. Let's see. There's Arizona. He brings it to the 4th. DC to the 3rd. New York, a clash. So no action in women's movement. Instead, Legal Eagle gambles, says, I don't think he's going to go for the swipe again, and he's able to block another huge clash in New York. We've had a 300K clash and now a 450 clash. That prevents Frank the Tank from getting that Town and Gown bonus, and now flips the cash advantage of 50K in favor of Legal Eagle. Big time spend there. Big time momentum stopper by Legal Eagle. I'm sure he's bummed he didn't get control of New York, but for it to be an even 450 clash, I think he'll take it, because now he's sitting in a better seat with 341K. He's currently holding the lead in Florida, but it's tied at a pip. Let's see what we got. Pressure in Georgia. Maryland entered by Frank the Tank. Pressure in Michigan from Frank. He enters into Nevada. He enters into Pennsylvania. Women's movement is locked in. That's all the money spent by Legal Eagle, locking in women's movement. Meanwhile, we see Frank the Tank pressuring in to some more swing states, entering into more swing states. He enters into Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania. He also enters into an important Old South, AA state, Maryland, as you can see the high tech symbol there. High tech, always an important state group to build towards California. But this is a unique battle with that national group clash and with some big time clashes in New York and no urgency to get swing or Old South. We are on turn 9 and we do not have any state groups yet. See if we get our first one on this turn. It would have to be from Legal Eagle, but it's not going to be easy because, as you can see, there's pressure everywhere besides Louisiana from Frank the Tank. We could see a big clash in Florida now. Or we could see Legal Eagle's got enough now. If he wanted to bring New York to the third, it would not get him any state groups, but it would give him the advantage in New York. All these decisions going through the heads of these bruiserweights. On turn 9. Like I mentioned earlier, Frank the Tank coming off a huge win against Babe Lincoln, who was higher ranked with him, getting a forfeit victory. And that match was played just prior to this match that's being played now, so he's hoping to hold that momentum and beat someone who is ranked lower than he is. As what do we got in Florida? It's brought to the fourth. A swipe there by Frank the Tank as Georgia's brought to the third. We got a clash in Iowa. Louisiana to the third from Legal Eagle as he brings North Carolina to the third. Pressure in Nevada. We're going to see Old South picked up here. A clash in Wisconsin. Old South will be picked up by Legal Eagle. That's a $40K bonus. Meanwhile, big money spent, $300K spent by Frank the Tank to gain control of Florida. So our first state group is had on turn 9. Old South, for the time being, is in control of Legal Eagle. We have pressure in 3 of those states by Frank the Tank. Frank might be looking for a couple swipes here. If he can hold Arizona, spend 120 in Pennsylvania, and possibly swipe either Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, he's got a path to get swing state bonus on this turn. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some action in New York here from Legal Eagle. You'd like to see him, obviously he needs to defend those Old South states, but maybe move into Maryland to pressure there and start entering into some of the other Old South states and build toward that AA bonus. Whoever gets that AA bonus first, that could be what decides this matchup. "30 seconds left in turn 10. EV count almost dead even, 83 to 79. National groups all tied up. 1 state group for Legal Eagle playing as Michelle Obama. As we're seeing this turn go all the way down to zeros. Did we get our turns off? We did. A swipe in Arizona. A defense no good as Arizona is swiped. Michigan to the third. But there's a swipe in North Carolina. 2 big swipes, 1 from each player. Nevada, another swipe. Pennsylvania brought to the third. But Old South is taken away with that swipe of North Carolina, and swing state is gained by Frank the Tank. A Huge turn 10 for Frank the Tank, taking away Old South and gaining swing state. And he gained swing state with just enough. That swing state bonus was almost taken away with the swipe in Arizona. That swipe in Arizona was also almost blocked. You can see that he just got that swing state bonus with having New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida. So that Old South money was spent in Virginia, thinking that's where the swipe attempt was going to be. Instead, it is in North Carolina. That Old South bonus is gone for now. Now we're going to see if Frank the Tank can use that swing state money and secure his swing state bonus a little bit more here. He's right on the edge. Do we see him go for a big-time swipe in Arizona or Michigan? They've both entered into Wisconsin and Iowa. We had clashes there. We could see a swipe attempt in Nevada, in Virginia, or Georgia. Finally, we're seeing some swipes and some state groups being passed back and forth. A big turn 10 there, taking away Old South and gaining swing states from Frank the Tank. New York's been quiet after some huge clashes. We haven't seen anyone touch New York for a while. That will be a pivotal state for the AA bonus. But right now, the other pivotal AA states are getting the attention. Big-time swipe in Arizona, big-time swipe in North Carolina. Let's see, as we have the timer go all the way down again, if there's more big-time swipes. No swipe attempt in Arizona. That is locked in by Legal Eagle. Georgia, though, however, we do get a swipe in Georgia. Michigan, a swipe attempt is perfectly blocked by Legal Eagle. A big-time block and a big-time swipe as he spends big and takes away Pennsylvania. We're going to see that swing state bonus be taken away. A perfectly executed block by Legal Eagle, spending $90K, 2 pips, to block that 4-pip, $180K swipe attempt. Big-time block. Big-time momentum shift after a big turn 10 for Frank the Tank. Legal Eagle responds with a big turn of his own, turn 11, where he takes away Old South, perfectly blocks Michigan, and swipes Arizona. We got a no spend here by Legal Eagle as Michigan is swiped. Interesting move there. A no spend, giving the swing state bonus back. Interesting move there. A no spend can be risky, especially there after he had that momentum. Iowa brought to the third and Michigan swiped, giving that swing state bonus back. The no spend, however, gives almost a $200K advantage for Legal Eagle. I'm guessing that no spend was to save now to try to get New York and get Town and Gown and work towards getting AA, but losing Michigan on that turn does hurt after that big time block. No spending and getting that cash advantage, though, can make Frank the Tank sweat a little bit, but he's sweating less knowing that he picked up that swing state bonus after losing it for one turn. We'll have to see in the chat after game if that was an accidental no spend. Florida, see, there's that no spend. It made pressure there in Florida. Maryland brought to the third. New York brought to the third, as well as Massachusetts. We're going to see that swing state bonus obtained. We're also going to see Old South obtained. Town and Gown is going to be obtained there by Legal Eagle. Meanwhile, going up in South Carolina gives Old South bonus to Frank the Tank. So a no spend there to get Town and Gown. Legal Eagle still down now 2-1 in state groups after allowing Frank the Tank to get Swing State back, and now Old South as well. But that no spend did cause Frank to spend $200K there in Florida. But now our cash advantage goes back to Frank the Tank. We'll see if we get a big time swipe attempt here from Legal Eagle. Look for potential swipe in Iowa and New Hampshire with that Town and Gown money. You would think we would see him attempt to swipe one of those key AA swing states like North Carolina, Georgia, or Michigan, but he also has to defend Pennsylvania. $180K spent by Frank the Tank could take back Pennsylvania, which is a huge state to swipe. We got Alabama entered, California entered, pressure in D.C., Illinois entered by Frank as he pressures Louisiana. A Michigan swipe is perfectly blocked. A big time block by Frank the Tank as Legal Eagle swipes New Hampshire. Big time block. After he got blocked with a Michigan swipe, he takes over Michigan and then successfully blocks 2 pips to block $225K spent, a swipe attempt there. As that was not only a great block in Michigan, but Frank the Tank moved into Illinois, moved into some more Old South states, moved into Tennessee, and is getting primed to get that AA bonus on this turn. He also gets the head start in California 1 pip. I'd be surprised, though, if he enters into California at all on this turn. I would focus on securing that AA bonus on this turn. And if you're Legal Eagle, you got to collect yourself after a brutal block in Michigan. See if you can swipe elsewhere, or you go big and you go for the swipe again. But that one hurts. That's one of those blocks that you look back at the end of the game and say, yeah, that was the difference maker, a momentum shifter. Turn 15 in this very competitive matchup. After that big time block and a risky no spend from Legal Eagle, the momentum is currently in the hands of Frank the Tank as he brings Alabama to the third. He enters into Colorado. He does lose D.C., a swipe in D.C., and a swipe in Georgia. Can Legal Eagle prevent the AA bonus? Illinois is brought to the third. Michigan is locked in, but it was North Carolina swiped. It was blocked. A swipe attempt blocked, and I think Legal Eagle will... Frank the Tank will get the AA bonus here. He loses the swing state bonus and does not get the AA bonus. I thought there was enough there, but he loses swing with that swipe in Georgia, just enough to swipe there, And not only does he lose swing state, but has to be just short of AA. Instead of going for Michigan again, Legal Eagle expertly executes a swipe of Georgia and a swipe of DC to hold off that AA bonus. Huge move there by Legal Eagle to halt the AA bonus for now. He could go for a risky swipe in North Carolina after failing to get the swipe that last turn. And Tennessee is another state that he will look to prevent that AA bonus from happening. But we could see Frank the Tank move up in Mississippi and get it here. I think the only way that Frank the Tank doesn't get the AA bonus here is if North Carolina is swiped. And I don't know if he's going to allow that to happen. But if it does happen, that will be huge for Legal Eagle. It was still huge just to postpone that AA bonus that last turn. Let's see if he can do it again on this turn. I think the only AA state left unentered is Delaware. Do we see pressure applied in Illinois on this turn here by Legal Eagle as well? As our timer is getting down to zeros. Everyone's got their turns off so far. Did they get their turns off in turn 16? No! Legal Eagle doesn't get his turn off. Georgia is swiped and locked. Mississippi brought to the third. North Carolina also locked. New Hampshire swiped. A big-time misstep by Legal Eagle, as it appears he didn't get the turnoff. A big-time 150K AA bonus is secured by Frank the Tank, as well as getting that swing state bonus back of 114.5K. Man, oh man. It appears there was an intentional no spend earlier, but that one did not seem intentional as the clock went all the way down, as Legal Eagle was apparently trying to find a way to best play that turn. Instead, a huge missed turn there, giving that 150K AA bonus as well as swing state back to Frank the Tank. We got a 3-1 advantage now in state groups. You'd have to imagine that Texas has to be entered here by Legal Eagle. And see him battle over oil and gas and those other remaining state groups. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a swipe attempt in Pennsylvania now that Frank the Tank's got Michigan, Georgia, and North Carolina locked. He's got a huge lead in Florida. A Pennsylvania swipe attempt may be coming. As our timer's going down again. Can Legal Eagle get his turn off after missing last turn? Yes, he can. California brought only 1 pip ahead, not brought to the end there. Florida, the swipe attempt. No. No. A gutsy swipe attempt by Legal Eagle is blocked in Florida, and that takes the air out of the tires. Instead of going into Texas, he goes and tries to take away that AA bonus by trying to swipe Florida, spend $600K. Meanwhile, $100K spent by Frank the Tank to block that Florida swipe. And we'll see here. That kind of failed swipe can make a man hit the forfeit button. We'll see if Legal Eagle decides to do that or if he decides to carry on here. Wisely, Frank the Tank uses that swing state money. We got a no spend here. I think that is a forfeit. As California is brought to the third, Delaware brought to the third, Louisiana locked in, New Hampshire locked in by Frank the Tank, Washington brought to the third. Is that a forfeit? It is. So, after a big-time win for Frank the Tank against a higher-ranked player, he faces a lower-ranked player in Scott, a.k.a. Legal Eagle, and a huge block in Florida is the nail in the coffin as Frank the Tank finishes his season with 5 wins, 6 losses, and 2 submissions to close out his season 1.